Well, folks, here we are again with yet another stun deck. As you know, it's Andrew the Collector, and I do love me some stun decks. We're having Runicks today. I was a little bit skeptical back when Mystic Mine got banned, rest in peace, my guy, that Runicks were still going to be a thing, because at least back then, Runicks were at the peak of their playability when Mystic Mine was still in the game. I almost topped with it at a YCS, and Tier Elements had a really hard time going against it. And when it got banned, I was a little skeptical at first, with Runick still being viable and still being playable. Boy, was I wrong. Not only did it still thrive, but it flourished. It came out with so many different variants. It came out with the Pure, which you still could do. It was the stun version. It was for hire, Sprite, and I believe that Unchained and Ubel had variants too. But yeah, there's so many different ways that you could use this deck. You could even put Kashtiras in this too. This is probably one of the most versatile decks, or engines I should say, that has been, out recently. Can't really think of a lot of other decks that have been this versatile while not solely relying on getting your opponent's life points down to 0. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get right into the build that I have for you guys today. And it is for the current format, obviously. The only monster that I'm running is 2 Amano Iwado. While this card is on the field, monster effects cannot be activated except for spirit monsters. You could argue that you could put Inspector Border in this place. I'm kind of thinking of the same thing too, but the difference is that Inspector Border stays on the field while Amano Iwado doesn't. So this kind of helps more with board breaking than just kind of doing all-out stun, which is what you have your floodgates for. So I guess you can, if you can go either way with it. If you're really scared against Floowandereeze, then I would take this out for Inspector Border, because Inspector Border pretty much just kills that deck. But for now, I'm fine with running 2 Amano Iwado, which is also the only main deck monster that we have. And we're going to be a little taboo here and go into the traps, because there is very little of them, and might as well get them out of the way. I'm doing, obviously, the stun version of the deck, so I'm running 3 Skill Drain. 1 there can be only 1, and 1 goes in match. I don't have Rivalry of the Warlords, which is why I'm not running it in here. So if you have Rivalry, I would say take either one of these out, or even a skill drain out to add it in. But like I said, I don't have it. And one of the most popular floodgates that I see with any Runick stun build is Synchro Zone. It's a continuous trap that while it's on the field, only synchro monsters on the field can attack. But I don't have any of those, and I think that this one is a little bit better, in my opinion, is Cave of the Super Ancient Organism. It's a continuous trap where level 6 or higher special summon monsters on the field cannot attack nor activate their effects. So it basically still works on high level synchro monsters, but they also can't activate their effects, which is a really good thing in stalling out. Unfortunately, since Summon Limit got banned for some reason, because Konami likes to push combo decks, this is the next best thing, in my opinion. And that's it for the traps. Now let's go into the spells. We have a lot of them. So let's start out with the Runick spells. 2 Runick Fountain. We can only have 2. It's the Heart and Soul of the Runick strategy. It's a soft once per turn draw power recursion, and you can activate the Runick Quick Play spells from your hand during your opponent's turn. And the ratio of this is pretty much the same as any other build. I'm running 3 tip, which is your Searcher, 3 Destruction, which is your Spell and Trap card pop, 3 Freezing Curses, Monster Negation, 3 Flashing Fire, which is your Special Summon Monster Destroyer, and 3 Runick Slumber, which is your protection against battle and destruction. And each of these, after they're activated, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck, face up. That's important to know. And the other effects is that you can special summon a Runick Fusion monster from your extra deck to your extra monster zone. So it's kind of dual. And the downside of this is that you can't conduct your next battle phase, which is fine because we don't win by the battle phase. And 2, Smiting Storm. I opted to put Smiting Storm at 2 because it can work, better and get you closer to decking your opponent out. It banishes the cards from the top of your opponent's deck equal to the number of cards that they control. And I'm only running 1 of Dispelling and 1 of Droplet because you don't really want to see these cards often. This one gets your opponent card in their hand but banishes the top 4 cards of their deck. Dispelling, if the card is added from their deck to their hand, they send a card from their hand to the graveyard, and then you banish the top, I believe, 3 cards. Oh, the top 2 cards, I'm sorry, from the top of their deck to their hand. So yeah, these are all the Runick cards. You can play around with these ratios, but for the first few ones, you definitely want to max out on 3 for those for your best consistencies. And since most of the time we're going to be special summoning during our opponent's turn, I have 2 Pot of Duality to increase the consistency, and I'm putting in 2 Pot of Desires. I'm considering on bumping this down to 1 or even cutting it entirely and switching it with Prosperity, because I don't really like the idea of banishing cards from my deck, where the extra deck in some ways can be a little bit more expendable. So let me know what you guys think about this. But I've seen decks run either. Just let me know which one you guys think would be better. 1 Terraforming to get to the field spell faster. 2 Time Tearing Morganite. We do not run any hand traps in this, so this just gives us extra draw power. The normal summon thing doesn't matter. We mainly run it for the draw power. And speaking of draw power, 1 Day of Peace, because it's 1 Day of Peace, an extra draw is an extra draw. And same thing with Upstart Goblin, because our opponent's life points do not matter. This card did get unlimited. It did get unlimited, but I only have the 1 copy. But I honestly think I would still only run 1 if I had it. Otherwise, I would be pushing over 40. So, like I said, just kind of play around with what you want. Now let's go into the extra deck. Got 3 Hugin, the most important Runick fusion monster. When she is summoned, you can pitch a card from your hand to search out the field spell. And then while she's on the field, if any of your cards would be destroyed by card effects, you banish her instead. So basically, if you have a Fountain out and any of your back row, and they activate Lightning Storm, if you have a quick play Runick card in your hand, you activate it to special summon her, the Chain Link will resolve, and she will prevent the destruction. Very, very good. The second best one that we have is Gary. Cannot be destroyed by card effects, and if this card is special summoned, you can add a non-quick play Runick card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's basically like Hugin, except it's from the graveyard, so it gives you a little bit extra recursion. The only thing that this deck is missing is recursion from the Banish Zone, because Cosmic Cyclone still is a thing. And if you're not careful, that will be the end of your, basically you in the round. But to prevent that, you can also run Munin. It's like Hugin, it can prevent targeting, but the only difference is that it's a card activation, not like a blanket protection. So Hunin will already have to be out on the field. It's not like you can they activate Cosmic Cyclone, and then you can summon him in the same chain and then prevent the banishment. It's not the same way. It has to already be on the field when Cosmic Cyclone or anything that would target any card on your side of the field would have resolved, because the negation is an activation. And then once per turn during either player's end phase, you gain 1,000 life points. I actually did win a game back when I used this at the YCS. I won a game in time with this against a Flanders player because I just kept gaining life points. And it got to the point to where my life points were like, I want to say almost 12,000 plus, and it was just a glorious victory. Freki, the Runick Fangs. I do not like this card that much, since you don't really do your battle phase at all. You only want to use this when your opponent attacks you, but you also have Gary for that, because when Gary is destroyed, you can pop a card that they have. Fangs is pretty much the same thing as that, only except you banish stuff instead from the top of their deck instead of popping a card that they have, like Floodgates, which I think is a little bit more important. If you have the level 9 one, which I don't, which I'm not running in this, which is why I have Frecky in the deck. If you have the level 9, switch out Frecky for it. But once I get the level 9, you better believe I'm going to be putting it in. And when I do get the level 9, spoiler alert, I'm going to be doing a hybrid of this with Runicks and Generators. So hopefully I can get that card relatively soon, and stay tuned for that. That is it for the Runicks. Off to the Super Poly targets. The Dracostapelia, Mud Dragon, Starving Venom, and Garura. The best Super Poly targets they have, because spoiler alert, Super Poly's in the side deck. And then one Entist, because the Dogmatica package in Voiceless Voice is still a thing. So, you always want to have a backup plan. Alright, off into the side deck. We have 3 of the Big Ball to pretty much break boards if you go second. Since you don't really care about life points on either side, and you need an extra win against them in time, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is always a good choice in this deck. Super Poly targets for the Super Poly Dimension Fissure, because we barely have any monsters that go to the graveyard anyway, so this is a really good floodgate against a lot of decks, unless, of course, your Flunderies or even Tempe Dragons, since they don't care about it. And also, since you also don't want to lose in time, I'm putting in Dark Bribe to not only do spell and trap negation, but also have them draw a card, which at first can seem bad, but also remember, you're trying to deck them out. So it could be a little extra push, even if you give them 1 card for advantage. And then the final card is 1 Dimensional Barrier, because it's Dimensional Barrier for Tempe Dragons. And that is it for the deck profile. If you like this deck, please like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell down below for notifications. And if you want to see any other videos other than deck profiles, or any other videos from any other card game, please let us know in the comments. We really consider you guys when you want to see new stuff from us. So hopefully we'll hear from you guys relatively soon. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell down below for notifications, and join our membership if you want to help keep the channel going. And until then, see you guys later.